Something was just so clear to me, and I want to put it into words before I forget the words. I think, um, what is the game I'm thinking of? I'm trying to think about how to explain how dogs communicate and where we get it wrong as people communicating with dogs. And maybe we get this wrong somewhat. Expert communicators are probably better at this, but I think a decent amount of us get this wrong. Just communicating with each other as well. But like dogs, everything often makes sense. Like if a dog doesn't like another dog, he's gonna ignore them. Then they're going to maybe show a lip or growl. There's a progression. If a dog doesn't like a dog's energy, they're going to avoid that dog or go through the process I just spoke about, etc. What I'm saying is they give very subtle hints. It's all connected. They're not like bipolar with it the way we can be. And I'll give an example. Like a dog, we love that a dogs get excited to see us. We're so excited, we're happy, Then they take that personality and then they start jumping or barking, which is part of the same personality trait that we were just nurturing, and we get upset. Why are you excited? And that is an example of something that's a polar opposite. We're communicating one thing, and then the next moment we're communicating the exact opposite thing. It can be very confusing for them. See, if a dog comes in excited to another dog, a lot of dogs are, unless it's reciprocal, a lot of dogs are gonna be like, hey, calm down, I don't like that. And they guide each other. There's a game I'm thinking about. I don't know the name of the game. It's where luges, maybe? Is that the name? We're on ice. I forget what the thing is called. There's brushes. They slide a thing across ice, and then people skate on ice skates, and then they brush in front of it. And the goal is to create, if you create a rough patch, it'll slow it down. If you don't create a rough patch, it'll let it be smooth. And then it ends up in the right spot. That's like how dogs communicate. It's a guiding. They're like, oh no, let me guide you away from that behavior you're doing. I don't like that. Now, when that can't be reached or it's happening way too quickly for a dog to pick up on, there could be a snap, there could be a jumping and a dominance with a growl and a whole full-blown dominance thing. And then if that's not received well, there could be a fight right there. They don't accept that. But in general, they guide each other the same way that those ice skaters guide the thing that's sliding on ice so that it lands in the right spot. They guide each other. And what we do, if you think about that, what we'll do is be like, oh, I love you so much. You are responsible for me. You're my protector. I view you as a very special thing, or I view you as responsible for me, something like that. Then when the dog is defensive, we're like, no, bad dog, or like, why would you think that you are above me? And the reason, it's very confusing. They're like, it's clear as day. Like if they could be translated into words, it's like 10 minutes ago, you were saying that through your actions and your body language. They're very important. If they're not praising you and you're praising them that way, there's a difference when you're sharing authentic love. That's totally amazing. And I think it's like all about love at the end of the day. But I think we could do it in the wrong way, where it becomes about an ego thing, or where a dog is, we don't realize that the flow, the vibration of love is not flowing from them anymore, and they're in an egotistical state. Just like a relationship, I think sometimes there's that time when you're like just doing your thing and it's not, and if you're both in your egos in a way, you're doing what you have to do at that moment, whatever it is, you're kind of closed off for the moment. It's all good. Sometimes it's like that, and sometimes it's very open. But if you're trying to share love and another person or animal's in that state, they might take it as more ego, external, not like a spiritual form of love, but more of like a sign of, I don't want to say submission, but a sign of, it could be taken the wrong way. It could be taken more. There's like a spiritual world, in my opinion, something like that. The love, the insides, But then there's also the realities of like, animals eat each other alive. Like if you don't have water, you die. Just the harsh realities of the world. And I think we have to have both, and you have to understand both. And I think it's important to live from the spiritual side, but to understand. If you don't understand the animal side of yourself and the people you're in relationships with and the dogs and everything, I think it can lead to trouble. I think it leads to trouble all the time. I'm not an expert on life. I'm just trying to figure it all out, but that's just what it seems like to me. You're like, no, this one really is an angel, man or woman, It's like, it just doesn't exist. This space, it really is a safe and protected holy space. Maybe not, There's that seed of the harsh realities of life and everything. And that's what I would call it, something like that. But anyway, I'm going on a massive tangent, but when I'm just thinking about how we can communicate one thing by being, boosting a dog's self-esteem, boosting their ego, etc. Another dog would be able to see that you're doing that. And then let's say we go on a walk, and then that dog has an inflated sense of self and a big ego. And they start posturing, and then they get leash aggressive, and we're like, no, bad dog, I need to get a trainer, And the thing is, we were just communicating that they should have a really high self-esteem, even if it's too high. I think you could have too high of a self-esteem, and I think you could obviously have too low of a self-esteem, but you want some sort of balanced self-esteem. I mean, even the people who are most successful, if they don't want future success, it's okay. They could have a huge ego and a elevated sense of self, but that's the beginning, possibly, of a decline for that person. That's from a book called How the Mighty Fall. It's like that's the beginning of how great companies start to fall. They get an inflated sense of self-esteem. Hubris born of success. So, if people or animals want to continue to be successful in the world, for lack of a better way of putting it for an animal, I'm not sure if that's their definition, but you don't want the self-esteem too low, but you also don't want it too high. A bit of a tangent again, but I'm just saying that we can tell them one thing in one moment in our private moments with them, then they act that out, and then we say, bad dog, I need to get a trainer. And then you say, well, look back at the root of this. And it's like, no, I'm not talking about, the problem is not the root of it. The problem is the tip of it. I'm speaking as the owner. I understand. But the cause of it is the root of it, And it's like, oh, but I don't like what you're saying, because I want to be able to continue to tell them one thing in my privacy of my home. And externally, I want that to not cause what it's causing. Can you change that for me? It's like, yeah, I suppose, you could do thousands and thousands of repetitions such that you can say a command and a dog will come back for a piece of food or something, so kind of like a robot. But we're acting outside of the natural laws of how things are now, I'm not sure if I'm jumping all over the place or if I'm kind of flowing. I mean, I'm sure I'm jumping all over the place a bit, but what I'm saying right there is that we have to address what we're saying to them and communicate more in the way that they're used to communicating. If they have a big ego and an inflated sense of self-esteem and it's causing them to get into problems, we have to realize where that's coming from. If you're saying that in private, it's causing a problem externally out in the world, then dogs don't do that. Dogs don't say one thing and then get mad when it leads to another thing. They say pretty much one consistent message. I need you to calm down. That's what they would say from the beginning. They wouldn't say, I want you to be excited. I want you to be excited. Oh my gosh, why do you have an inflated sense of self-esteem? This is just one example I'm sticking with, but they're not bipolar with it. They're consistent. So I was just thinking about that. I wanted to say that.